think we can start. This session is the last before the closing, so thank you all for being here, for staying until now, and welcome to the session about interregional cooperation. I'm Nikos Lambropoulos. I'm outreach and media expert for the ESPON EGTC, and I will be moderating this session. Let me explain to you why we decided to have a session on interregional cooperation. So the first reason is territorial. This is where Interreg Europe is. It's their base, and also it's because Lille and especially the region Haute-France is hosting a number of European programs, as Anne will tell us later. But the second reason is more factual, let's say, that we acknowledge that we need to work more together, because we are pushing our stakeholders to work together. We're pushing them to interact. We're pushing them to use all our programs and to combine them. But maybe we need to explain them even more how to do it, how to use each program and benefit and use it for their advantage. So we will try to present you the new programs that we will have for the new programming period, but also to give you an idea how you can combine them for your own needs. So before giving the floor to the panel, I would like to use Slido. I don't know if you all know how to use it. Can we? Yeah. So we have a small poll for you with 3 very simple questions, just to see how do you think that each program can be used. So if you can use your phones and try to answer to these questions, you go to slido.com. If you don't have the application, you go to slido.com, you enter /ESPON, and then you log into to this poll, and we want you to start answering these 3 questions if possible. So the first one is, I cannot see that, sorry. Yeah, sorry.
The result.
Okay. They replied already. That's good. So the first question is, what program will help you to find new policy solutions to your regional development challenges by exchanging with other European regions? Good. I'm going to the next one. Sorry. It's not moving on, sorry. So you see. So the next one is, which program will help you benchmark your area and design place-based policies for your region or your city? And the last one, which program will help you tackle an urban policy challenge and learn to work in a sustainable, integrated way? Okay, you can still vote or change your vote during the debate. We'll leave this open. We can close it now from the screen, because I mean, discussing with our guests, we'll see if what you answered still applies or not. So I would like now to go to the panel and give the floor first of all to our first guest and our host. So Anne Wetzel, she's Director Europe for the region Hauts-de-France, and she will explain us the programs that they are hosting, but also how they are combining the work of these different programs that are hosted in the region. Anne, thank you.
Thank you so much. Goodbye. Good day, everyone. Not yet. It's really a pleasure to be here and to have a personal contact again. I think it's something we missed for a long time. I will just give you an overlook about what the Hauts-de-France region is doing on European funding, and then perhaps give 3 reflections about what we could and must do together in the next times. So we, in Hauts-de-France region, we are managing authorities of the mainstream programs. We have also agriculture or maritime funds. And we have the pleasure to manage 3 cooperation programs, one from each strand, cross-border, transnational, and interregional, Interreg-Europe program. And we started a new adventure with the European Commission in indirect management of the urban innovative actions in 2015. And we will be the next managing authority for the urban initiative, which will start very soon and have a more a whole dynamic about the urban issues in proximity with Urbact, which is then quite an issue. How do we work on the cooperation field? I think we have the chance of a unique tool with the EEIG, J'écoute, where in a really flexible way we manage the 4 programs, European programs in Lille, 92 persons working from 23 nationalities together, which is like a little European agency, and we are really think that this way of working together enables us to be really more efficient. Why? Because we exchange a lot. There are a lot of emulation going on between the different strands. There's a lot of harmonization between ways of doing things. Speaking of simplification, for example, how we do it. One program finds new ways of doing it. We can exchange, have new ideas, and work on this together. It's really important, for example, to coordinate, to exchange, and to be sometimes also stronger together. And this is really an opportunity we have, and I think perhaps why the Commission asked us to take over the Urban Innovative Actions too, with the experience we had working together and exchanging. I will give you just one example of synergies that can be done between all these different programs. And I think what really is important for us is to be an actor of the ground, because that's what we do. We are a region. We come from the mainstream. And for example, in our 2 programs at the moment, we have 19 ITIs, where the urban authorities select their projects and then will be instructed by the regions. So we have a large experience, a lot of evaluation going on what are the benefits and what is perhaps more difficult with these tools. And then we can take over to have this input to the urban innovative actions, which are then sometimes the beneficiaries of these programs, to give input of how it works on the ground. When building now the new initiative, there's a whole strand about knowledge sharing with a new platform. And then there we can look at Interreg-Europe. I think Nicolas will speak about this, and take interesting examples of the policy learning platforms of Interreg-Europe to see how this can be then transferred or implemented in the urban field. You know, there's just some examples of what we can do together. And I think it's always important to think we see on the ground what is happening, and then how we can build on this, transfer, and work better. So perhaps 3 elements, I think, which we are working on and reflect at the moment. First is the shift, geopolitical shift we're living in with the Brexit, which is a really important issue for our region, of course. Also now the war in Ukraine. So how in this new geopolitical context we can work together. It changes a lot for us, but how we then build these cooperation areas, how can we work together and also have a strong identity of each program. And this is something, I think, the DNA, sometimes it seems evident, sometimes not. But I think it's really something really important. Because if you know what you do together, you are stronger and you can work, I think, better. The next element is the knowledge transfer. I think it's really a main issue, perhaps for all of us. How can we transfer knowledge to the actors on the ground who need to have more input? Sometimes, I think we must be on it, it's happy few who are in the good connections, in the good networks, who then get to have this. But a lot of actors who are working, struggling, how can they get this knowledge? How we make it available? And we're working on this. I think Interreg Europe is really working on this. We're not. It's also a main issue, for example, of the new urban initiative. How can we do it in a practical way? And I think with ESPON, it would be really interesting also to find perhaps new ways of doing this together. And the last thing I just want to give some a little bit of reflection on is we had a long time these 7-year frameworks where we know we started things, then we prepared together and we're implementing. We see that this is not working like this anymore. We have emergencies, we have new challenges coming quick. We see this with the COVID crisis, REACT-EU coming. You have to build new projects, sometimes a new way of doing things, and it's really urgent to find these answers. How you do it. And then one answer we found was, for example, peer-to-peer review. How, in a really quick way, you have others from other regions in the whole Europe to exchange, to get insight in what they do, and how you can then have access to data, to reflections on it, but you are not in this, like perhaps more longer and traditional way of doing things. And I think the new world we are in, we have a just transition fund, we have crisis funds. How do we manage this? How do we do it? And again, from a practical, operational point of view. And these are really, I think, reflections we have to find together. And I think the answers, we only can find them together. And I think Aspen has a really interesting link that we can reinforce together. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Anne. Thank you. And thank you for providing us not just an overview, but really an idea how we can do things together and how we can combine programs. I think this is really important for our audience. I will give the floor now to Nicolas. So it's Nicolas Singer, he's head of unit, projects and platform at Interreg Europe. And we would like you to present us the new elements of the program. You also had a call that I remember closed this week. So we will be happy to hear also about this first experience that you have. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much, Nikos. Good morning to all. Thanks to ESPON also for inviting us today. I think it's very nice that we have these interregional programs gathered together in Lille, in addition. I would like to, to present you quite briefly what are the plans for the 7 years to come. It's still a 7 years programming. I'm not sure if I can change the slide or if there's any remote. Perfect. Thank you, Nikos. Yes, great. So I'd like to start with really the basics of the program. It could be considered as quite a big program in terms of budget because we have almost 380 million euro ERDF, which is much bigger, I have to say, than our sister programs, the other programs. There are two main reasons for this budget that is higher than ESPON, Interact or BACT is first, because we are financing projects quite heavily, which is also the case of our BACT. But these Project can also sometimes, under certain conditions, do some piloting. And this explains why we have a big budget. I would add also another element is, you will see on the next slide, we are there to improve regional development policies, which is very broad, and the notion of region is taken very widely. We can help cities, we can help councils, we can help regional authorities. So the scope of our program is enormous in a way. And to give you an example, we are in the 2014-2020 period, we are financing 258 projects. So it's quite a big number. We have one single priority on capacity building. I'll come back to that. And we are pan-European, like ESPON, like Interactive Bact. It's another common element that we have together, I think. If you go more specifically on the rationale of this program, we insist a lot on the objective. And the wording you see there is coming directly from the regulation. So it may sound very abstract, very sometimes perhaps even confusing, but I would prefer to say it in a very simple way. Regional and local authorities in Europe, all over the European Union, are facing similar challenges, whether they are related to economic development, circular economy, social inclusion, climate change. They are on the ground implementing public intervention to try to improve the situation in the region. Interreg Europe is there to help these regions, these policymakers in the regions, to find inspiration, to find new solutions to address this challenge by exchanging with other regions facing similar challenges. So it's a very simple program in a way. It's not to reinvent the wheel, and it's everything related to identifying and transferring good practices, what works well in the regions. We have a specific link with mainstream programs. That's the reason why sometimes we work directly with managing authorities of mainstream programs. It's around 20% of our partners are in fact managing authority of investment for growth and jobs programs. But again, I wanted to say that we also can help any kind of regional development policies, which make also this program quite attractive. How we do this? It's mainly through capacity building, exchange of experiences. So that's also something I would like to insist, because some of you may be in the room or online, you have heard about Interreg, and most of the time it's a cross-border or transnational program, which are most of the programs, 79 programs. These programs can be very implementation oriented. They can really implement directly solution on the ground. Ourselves, we do not really do that. Even if I mention piloting, we are mainly there to exchange of experience, to network, to identify good practices. And the reason why I'm insisting on all this rationale of the program is because it has two main consequences. First, our core target group are the policymakers, are regional and public authorities, which is very different from other Interreg programs. And secondly, as I said, we are not an investment program, we are not a research program. And that's the reason why I saw on the chart at the beginning, the answers to the polls. It's very interesting because they are very close link with all of us. I think with ESPON, Interact and Orbact, even if Interact is not represented here today. As I said, we are cross-cutting, we are addressing capacity building, which means that it's also very attractive. We can address almost all regional development issues within the cohesion policy. And you see they are represented in the icons, the 6 different policy objectives of the cohesion policy. The strategy of the program is still to allocate most of the money on certain priorities, mainly related to smarter and greener Europe, and also partly more social Europe. But you see that we are a very open program from that point of view. The way we do it, we support 2 actions. I'll tell you a bit more on the projects. If you receive the presentation later on, you can also click, there will be a video. That's the best way to understand our projects. But we are a bit unique also in Interreg Europe because we are also supporting another kind of initiative, which is called the Policy Learning Platform. Anne has already mentioned it, and I will say a few words on this just after. If you look at the projects, I was saying we are very open program. When it comes to the project, we are very prescriptive. We are not writing the project on behalf of the project, but at least it's very frameworked. Because if you look at the project objective, they mirror the program objective. So the limited number of regions that share a common issue, perhaps public transport in cities, how to improve this element, they need to identify at the beginning the public intervention they would like to improve. And this needs to be indicated in their application form. And during 3-4 years, they will work on improving this intervention by exchanging with others. And again, we have a certain link with the structural funds in the member states and in the regions. In terms of activities, we are also prescriptive. You cannot do whatever you want, unfortunately. Primarily, we are financing exchange of experiences, learning by exchanging. So it's everything that allows you to meet people, to visit places, to exchange with others, and related again to good practices identification and transfer. This period for 21-27, we are a bit more open in learning by doing. It's not always enough just to visit the places, to meet the people. Sometimes to improve your public interventions, you really need to try on the ground to see if it works. And that's the reason why we also open the door a bit more to what we call pilot actions in our program. All this contributes to the increased capacity, of course, of the people and organization involved, and hopefully at the end, in a better public intervention. What is quite unique in our program is also that there are 2 phases obligatory for all projects. The most important is, of course, the core phase. That's where the exchange of experience takes place. I do my best during these 3 years to find new solutions and to integrate them in my public intervention. So hopefully, I have achieved my objective at the end of these 3 years. But what is interesting is that we keep on working with the projects after these 3 years, because we would like to see. It's not easy, but we try to see what is the territorial effect of all these changes, these policy changes, these policy improvements. Is there jobs created? Do you have CO2 emissions saved, etc.? And this gives sometimes more concrete long-term impact to interregional cooperation. That's the reason why we attach quite a lot of importance to this follow-up phase. I'd like just to finish with a second innovative action that we are supporting. It's called the Policy Learning Platform, and it's very easy to understand again, is that when I tell you that we have 258 projects, it means that more than 2,000 regions, organizations in Europe are cooperating. They are identifying thousands of good practices that we collect at the program level. It's very useful for each individual project, but we would like this to be useful for anyone in Europe. So the idea is really to further exploit all the good knowledge, all the good people that we have in these projects, and make this available for regions that do not even need to apply for a project then. And this is done through three main services. The first one is a bit traditional, it's a knowledge, so you have a good practice database on our website, validated by experts. We have a lot of policy brief on different subjects. But the Policy Learning Platform also organizes a lot of thematic events, so people can meet, can find inspiration with other people working in similar domain. And perhaps the most interesting services, I think, Anne, you have mentioned it, is the expert support. It's a much more active way of capitalizing because you start from the need of the region. I have an issue in my region with the innovation capacity of the textile industry. I can apply to a peer review in the Policy Learning Platform, and the peer review will bring me few experts, peers from other regions that have similar issues or different solutions. And during 2 days, they will try to find new solutions to the region that have applied to the peer review. This is mainly what I wanted to say. I haven't mentioned the call, Nikos, because I didn't plan it and I prepared the presentation before. But on Tuesday at 12, we closed the first call and we received 124 applications, if I'm not mistaken. 134. Anne knows better than me the program. We have a very good managing authority. So the time for assessment will start. One of the main lessons learned of this call so far, we were surprised by the number of applications submitted into Smarter Europe, which is even higher to our traditional topics, which are, to make it simple, economic development, innovation, and environment. So it's very interesting also to see this mobilization of the regions around the social issues. We'll tell you more very soon on the statistics of the call. Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So thank you very much for this thorough presentation, and I think it helps really to understand how your program will work in the next programming period. And I see that there are already elements that we can discuss also later on today that somehow fit, among the different programs. Now, Nuala Morgans is head of unit of capitalization and communication for URBACT. and she will present us the new program. Some of the elements that I heard, I think somehow fit also URBACT, especially the experts support. So can you tell us a bit more about this?
Yes, thank you,
Thank you.
Nikos, and thank you, ESPON, also for the invitation to come and share with you the URBACT program today. I'll give you a short introduction. You may find a lot of similarities with what Nico has just presented for Interreg Europe, but I'll also try and clarify also how we're different and complementary in terms of the supports that we provide. So you'll also see a few keywords that Anne has already mentioned in terms of the links that we have with the European Urban Initiative. So I'll give you a quick insight on this new urban context in Europe that Anne has already mentioned, and how URBACT fits in that, and quickly run through the main features of the program, and also give a quick heads up for our first call for networks, which is not yet open. So in terms of the new European context, I wanted to give a snapshot of what Anne has described in terms of the European Urban Initiative. So URBACT will remain a cooperation program, a territorial cooperation program, interregional strand as Interreg Europe. But we will closely collaborate with the new European Urban Initiative that is managed on behalf of the Commission by the Hauts-de-France. And this whole initiative, as Anne has said, is aiming to better clarify and streamline the support for cities through cohesion policy in priority. And as the cooperation program that is dedicated only to cities, URBACT will be contributing to both of the strands as shown here. Don't be too afraid by this by this diagram, but just to show that URBACT will feed into the European Urban Initiative as part of cohesion policy, and also to the knowledge sharing activities that will be a part of. So URBACT is a slightly smaller program in terms of budget, as Nico mentioned. We will have a budget of 79 million euros in ERDF, and this covers similar activities as I'll show in a moment. But to reiterate, we are a European-wide cooperation program, so open for all cities, covering all 27 member states, plus Norway and Switzerland as partner states. And for the first time, URBACT will be open to the instrument for pre-accession countries that are listed here, with a dedicated budget. So this is a new feature also for the URBACT program to work with cities in these countries to help prepare their urban development strategies and help them with their integration into the EU. And I think the important point for the audience today is that URBACT will continue to support cities and towns of all sizes throughout Europe, from the neighbourhood level to the functional urban area level, and really dedicated to policymakers and to those who are working in and for cities on urban policy. In terms of URBACT's main objectives, you will see some similarities to what Nico has just presented. We're also under the strategic objective of better cooperation governance, with a focus on building the capacity of cities. But primarily, URBACT's focus is to help promote integrated, sustainable urban development through exchange and cooperation. And a key to that is building up the skills and capacities of the local level to not only develop new plans and actions, but also to implement them in continuing in this integrated approach and in a participatory way. And that's why URBACT has a particular focus on contributing to the policy objective 5, which is Europe closer to the citizens, because we really have embedded this participatory work in the URBACT method that our cities and networks implement with us, and because the city level, the local level, is the closest level to the citizen in terms of action, and it really does complete and, let's say, emphasize the cohesion policy principles that that all of the EU funds are applying. So to put it in, let's say, less bureaucratic, but in simpler terms, we help cities learn from each other to tackle local challenges and to promote an integrated and participatory approach. So similar to Interreg Europe in terms of the approach in terms of exchange of experience and transfer of good practice. We have three main types of activities. Our core activity are our networks, our projects, which we call networks of cities. And we can welcome, we have on average 8 to 10 partners, local authorities, city administrations, who work together on a common theme or a common policy challenge. And we have 3 different types of networks, which will each have their own dedicated call. The first one is an action planning network. So cities can work together to design and implement an integrated action plan. So learning from their European peers who are facing similar challenges, learning also what has worked, what hasn't worked in different contexts, and identifying a specific action plan at the local level. And one of the features of the URBACT program is that each city is required to set up a local group of stakeholders, of citizens, of those organizations who are impacted by or have an influence on the policy, to ensure that the plan that is developed has buy-in from all levels and then a greater chance of success when it comes to implementation. We also have a network that's specifically focused at transferring good practices. So similar to Interreg Europe, we have identified and had an expert, let's say, analysis according to certain criteria of what constitutes a good practice. And we've set up a network that looks specifically at the context in which a good practice is developed, what are its elements and how this can be adapted. Understanding, first of all, the context, how it can be adapted then to a different context, different legal framework, different cultural settings, and then reused, implemented according to the needs in other cities. So this will also be a feature of the URBACT program going forward. And we will have a new dedicated innovation transfer mechanism. And this links back to what we said at the beginning in terms of URBACT's link also with the European Urban Initiative, where we will be working. We're currently piloting this transfer mechanism in the current URBACT program. And we will continue to help specifically the urban innovative actions that are currently being implemented through the program that Dan has mentioned, to really look at the innovative transfer and the specific features of how these innovative actions can be replicated in other countries. Of course, we're talking about different kinds of activities when it comes to innovative actions, which are quite, let's say, high budget investment programs. So we're looking at how other cities can replicate elements and set up their own investment plan to find financing for their own innovative actions. So those are our 3 kinds of networks. We also support then the cities with dedicated capacity building actions because as has already been mentioned, it's really the core of the cooperation programs is to build the capacity, in our case of urban stakeholders, to design and implement new plans and actions. And so we do this through at the beginning of each round of networks with a dedicated, what we call our URBACT University, which really gives an in-depth training into all of the tools and skills that we'll be using throughout the network cycle. These can also be delivered at national level through our URBACT campuses. And we have an online toolbox, which is available for anyone to access the tools and guides that URBACT uses. And these are updated regularly with new tools that we see our cities using and that we see the experts that accompany the cities to help along the way. there is a particular focus in URBACT 4 on the next URBACT program on 3 cross-cutting issues that we will be developing specific capacity building activities around. And these link to the major, let's say, priorities also at EU level in terms of inclusive policymaking or gender responsive policymaking, linked to the digital transition and to green and climate and the just transition issues. So whatever topic cities come to us with a project proposal, we will also be looking at how these cross-cutting themes will be integrated into their activities. And the same goes for, let's say, the important point that was mentioned in terms of sharing knowledge and making sure that all of these experiences can be, on the one hand, shared with as many cities as possible to learn from what others have done without having to apply for a project, but also to ensure that the hundreds of cities who are working together within URBACT, how this knowledge can be catalogued and analysed and fed into the European, let's say, urban policy processes. So in particular through the European Urban Initiative and the knowledge sharing platform that will be set up there, and also through the urban agenda for the EU, the multi-level governance process that that brings cities, member states, and the European institutions around the same table. So these, we do this through dedicated knowledge sharing projects, through our setting up of specific communities of practice around specific topics, and by organizing knowledge sharing and communication events, such as our URBACT City Festival. And the next City Festival is happening in a couple of weeks in Paris. It's from the 14th to 16th of June, where we will officially launch the URBACT 4 program. And there will be sessions there that will also be live streamed that will present the new program also, and the opportunities for the next call. So the next call is scheduled in our planning for October. This is subject to everything falling into place before then. We expect the formal approval of the program over the summer, and the first monitoring committee to approve the terms of reference in September. So it will be a call for action planning networks, so the first type of network. And from June to October, we will be providing a lot more support specifically for the call. There will be a partner search tool on our website. We will organize national information sessions, lead applicant webinars, and so on. So I think the best way to stay informed is to sign up to the URBACT newsletter or follow us on social media to be kept informed of the latest opportunities. So do stay tuned, and I hope that has clarified a little bit also how URBACT can support cities and urban policymakers.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I will keep participation, capacity building, and knowledge sharing as the buzzwords, let's say, of the program, and the innovation of working together with urban innovative actions as the new element for the program. Thank you, and I will pass now to our director, the ESPON director, Victor Sidarovsky. So, Victor, how the new program will look like?
I think this question. Because Timo is going to provide very details of how new program is going to look like. But I think I will not make you quite surprised by saying that capacity skills, innovation, participation, networking, knowledge are the common elements of all these programs concerned. We are also one of the programs that some of you through the day, yesterday and this morning, hopefully have known a bit more about. And to surprise you, maybe I would say we are not a research program. We are a policy support program. But we use the competence of research, the competence of spatial planners, of territorial planners, in order to bring it into the picture of policy making. So we can say we are a twin, maybe older or little, bigger brother or sister of Interreg Europe and URBACT. And for that reason, to give you orientation on who does what, we need to provide you with the sort of a user-centric approach. And I think this is the motto of all the programs concerned. Irrespective of where are you heading, I believe that you as a policy enabler, civil servant, representative of an agency, or even researcher should know whom to turn to, and not exactly what organization, but what your challenge is. And we together then should sit down and say, well, we are a consilium of actors. And we should steer you, dear customer, in the best possible way, depending on what the challenge for you is about. Is it about that you would like to grasp the territorial trends because there is something new happening in the space, not on the moon, but in the space, that you feel you need to be informed about and react accordingly? Or is it that you're working on a practical solution and then there must be some region, definitely somewhere in that specific space that has had the same problem and then has developed a similar solution. So it's easy maybe to, just use the best practice. Or maybe you are very much confined to the urban environment and then you have a specific issue that you would like to see resolved through the cooperation networking. It shouldn't matter for you what kind of programs are there. You should come to any of us for advice, and our role should be to guide you in the right way. So this is the user-centric approach. Again, I'm not going to present the program in detail because this is what Timo is going to do. But what the benefit of ESPON program is that we are probably a very early starters. So when you're working on a policy design, you are working on a policy evaluation, you want to change something, calibrate your particular policy, be it territorial development or sectoral policy with a potential distinct territorial dimension, then we are there for you. And we also would like them to guide you in the best possible way so that when your policy is right, when your policy is mature, and then you are looking for specific solutions how to implement it, then we can reroute you to be it Interreg Europe or be it URBACT, or for methodological support to Interact. Again, you shouldn't care very much what your, say, interlocutors should be, the right one. We are here to guide you. And our dream, our wish is, of course, that all the different knowledge development toolboxes and products, be it platforms, are then equally fed by all of us together. So my personal ambition is to see that policy learning platform contains also policy briefs from ESPON, from URBACT. That whatever we are doing in ESPON, in our toolboxes and knowledge platform, which is also something that we'll be working on in the future, then it also contains some good solutions from the other programs. Again, it doesn't matter for you who we are. It matters for you that we are there to help you resolve your development challenges. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Victor. Thank you. So what I keep from this intervention is that we should work together, and that actually the stakeholders should not care what exactly, to whom they should address. They should just express their need, and then we should channel them accordingly. Thank you very much. Okay, then I will go back to our Slido and see what are the final results, and I will ask our guests to comment on the results. So the first question, allow me. So the first question is, which program will help you to do... they're moving. So this is the first. So what program will help you to find new policy solutions to your regional development challenges by exchanging with other European regions? So 59 of you said Interreg Europe, 37 ESPON, and 4 URBACT. And if we can go to the next one. So which program will help you tackle an urban policy challenge and learn to work in a sustainable integrated way? URBACT 74%, ESPON 15%, Interreg Europe 11%. And the last one, which program will help you to benchmark your area and design place-based policies for your region? ESPON 67, URBACT 19%, and Intereurope 15. I will start with Victor this time.
A concilium. We need a concilium because you see the borders, the boundaries are fuzzy. And it's not your problem. It's that we need to find a solution to that simply, that to channel you, to route you in the right way, because depending on the context, depending on the situation you are in with your policy development, depending on what territorial scale you represent, this is the answer. This is the problem simply, that there might be actually, you might be going to, with your specific, say, need for diagnosis, not to the right program from the very outset, right? And we need to, again, we need to navigate you through this, saying that, be frank and say, for instance, you are coming to ESPON, and maybe we are not the right program to answer your need because you are not there. That we normally work on, because we produce territorial evidence and develop knowledge based on that. You don't need new territorial evidence, you need knowledge. These are the right partners for you. And myself, I really am not concerned that I will lose you, because I can lose you as a one customer, but will keep you in our community of interregional territorial cooperation programs. And for me, this is the most important. We are one community of programs, no matter how we are labeled.
Thank you.
So I think when it comes to, I mean, the question that was targeted for URBACT, I think it is quite clear, you know, more than like 3/4 of you selected URBACT for this. But it is true that for Interreg Europe, cities are also eligible for their activities, and so I think it's also quite legitimate that that this shows up here. And I think, coming to Victor's point, that there is, of course, a need to show how the programs are different, to show how they complement each other, but also to recognize that when it comes to sharing and exchanging experience of existing solutions and what worked and what hasn't worked, there is an element of benchmarking against other cities and other regions. And when it comes to developing policy evidence, there is an element of sharing and experience and so on. So there is, it's not, I think, so problematic that there is a certain overlap, as long as it's clear enough what the ultimate end goal is for the city or region coming to the program. And when it comes to tackling urban policy challenges, of course, having this territorial evidence as a basis or as a starting point or as a reference point, it can be really helpful. And I think that's where we can really, as you say, orient the beneficiaries to the right sources of information and to the right funding.
Thank you.
Yes, I think well, almost everything has been said. There's 2 points that are striking for me, is that we are almost addressing specialists, because still the answer is correct. The rationale of each program, I think, is understood. And when you come from far, this sounds so abstract. So I'm already surprised. I don't know if it's thanks to the session of today, but even at the beginning of the session, I think it was more or less allocated to the right program. The second point is what has been said, is that the frontier is thin sometimes, you know, between the programs. And I think it's even truer for URBACT and Interreg Europe, because we can also help cities. We can support integrated urban policies sometimes. So that's on this area that we have been working together already, but we should continue working together. And as Victor said, the most important at the end of the day is that the need of the territories is answered at the end. I would finish with one surprise, is on the regional. I was thinking it would be the opposite. As I was expecting ESPON to be 4% and URBACT to be 36%. And I'm very surprised that ESPON is so closely associated to Interreg Europe. But that's yeah, a bit of a surprise for me. Thanks.
Thank you. And may I ask you also to comment, adding one more layer to this. Do you think that based on these results, we should try to work more together, or we should try to clarify, let's say, the different fields and separate the programs further? Which direction should we go?
Both. I think, yes, I think it's important to have your identity. What I said before, it's really important. But then I completely agree with what Victor said. We do the same on our level, on the regional level. There's someone coming with his her project, and it's up to us to guide the project, to say where it's best suited. It's our work we must do. And I think I completely agree with this. And okay, we must have an identity, because otherwise all is blurry, of course. But then it's the work we do to orient and to work as close together as possible, to have these links and bridges, and then do it for that everyone who needs, who wants answer from the European level gets it in the best way. So.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions from the audience for our speakers? If not, we can close this. Yes, sorry, Timo.
Thank you. No, I think the notion should be in a way clear that we all have our profile, and we are actually working on seeing how this actually can work in complementarity. And maybe just to put it in very real terms, for example, in ESPON, we have thematic orientations, we have thematic action plans where we focus our evidence production. We have user demand-driven evidence production, but we cannot support the cooperation part of it. And this is where we then can very well cooperate, where your strength is really to support cooperation and combine that with planning processes or developing progress, and similar to the URBAC. So, of course, we have all our specialization, and we are, working to also develop a compass like we did in the previous programming period, that everybody can recognize where the entry point is, or where maybe identify also for the potential users where the biggest value added is for their problem, where they are in their planning processes or in their policy development processes. So I think this is a very good message that obviously it's not clear. It was not surprising that maybe because here in the audience or people who are watching outside know more from ESPON than the other programs. So this is also in a way not a surprising result. So I'm very confident that we find the right way to also communicate then our collaborative work.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you, Eric Lurson. I work for Spatial Foresight. I was involved in a project called ESPON Lakes, and it's a good example of how this communicates, of this connection. With this, ESPON Lakes was about then planning in large lake regions in Europe. And we worked on 3 lakes, Lake Vänern in Sweden, Lake Constance, and also Lake Balaton in Hungary. Now, the results from this evidence collection and working with the stakeholders were, well, it could make sense to move on to an Interreg Europe project, and we had already a good discussion with the Italian Interreg Europe representatives. I don't know exactly how you call them, but they're the people in Italy that were helping us, and they're very interested in moving on to this. Still, what I note is that it's a big step moving on. And we already had the European workshop, and we realized, I'm sorry to say, but the European Commission people are incapable of talking about EU support to local stakeholders that are not already involved in EU policy. They simply don't talk the same language, and they are totally foreign. And I personally got the request from people around another Swedish lake asking, how can I get to know what EU support could I get? And I had to tell them back, sorry, you need to specify what you need before I can help you on EU support. So, this dialogue is still not functioning at all. So there are still missing links. That's my point. We still have missing links. And I see, even with the Italian support we get, with the people, we see that this may not be happening because it's still a too big step for them to apply for Interreg Europe. So I just say, we had some very useful move forward. We had a very useful then process within the Aspen Lakes project on compiling evidence, understanding what it means to be around a lake, what brings people from lakes in different parts of Europe together. We still someone to lead the process and moving on. Some things are missing, and we could really, people are trying across in a number of lake regions in Europe. They have really interesting issues linked to climate change, to resources, to tourism, to land use planning. Lots of things are happening around these big lakes, and it's a really interesting subject. And I think we just need to continue reflecting on where are these missing links and the people who could create the communication between the EU policy level and the local and regional stakeholders, because I'm sorry to say, but it's still not functioning as it should. Thank you.
Thank you. You want to comment?
Maybe a small comment, because I fully understand this comment. I also share it. I was project partners in the past before joining the programs, and I think this is a recurring issue that is not easy to solve in any case. As far as we are concerned, I cannot speak on behalf of the other program. But I think it's a common issue for a lot of programs. We are still a bit of EU jargon, not only the Commission, but the programs themselves. You will hear about policy instruments. It's very, very difficult sometimes to speak in a clear way for people. But the real issue we have is also to support over and over again the usual suspects. We call them the usual suspects in our jargon, because of course Eindhoven, of course Milano, of course Lyon will come again for sure, or the regions and not only the cities. And we are trying to solve this by publishing which regions are already represented in our project, and to force, by bonus point or this kind of thing, to force the future project to involve regions that are not yet involved in our project. And one of the things we noticed is that the first time you apply to such a program, it's extremely challenging. Extremely challenging if you don't have the internal engineering people knowing. But as soon as you have done one, you will do many more after that, and you become dependent almost on this program, which is a good sign for us. But you see, this is really the first step that is the most difficult. And the last thing I wanted to say, I forgot about this. Yes, that's also the reason why we developed the peer review and the service of the platform, because it's very easy. It's 2 pages to fill in, and it gives you a flavor of what it is about, and it's very easy to do. So this may be one first step if you've never been in any of these cooperation projects. The platform is also an open door for having a very quick test if it corresponds, if it helps you or not.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for being here with us today. Thank you for being on the panel, and I hope that at least we clarified some things that gave food for further thought also among us. Thank you very much. And we're moving now for our closing session. So,
do you still have some patience with us? Hands on who has the patience with us. Small exercise. Some people don't, I can see. There will be very close concluding remarks, but one presentation. We would like to give you some shot ahead what's going to happen with ESPON program, and also what the priorities of the upcoming Czech presidency are going to be. We haven't thought of a specific sequence, and Milada and Timo, maybe you can join here on the scene to, together with me, judge on setting the framework for the presidency first and what ESPON can do, including also the means to suit your presidency. Or Timo, would you suggest we start with the program, a 7-year-long program? We'll start with Timo. This is advice. Timo, please. I abstained from presenting the details of the program, knowing that Timo would be doing so, and he has prepared about 67 slides, knowing him. 65. Timo, please, the floor is yours.
Thanks. You're putting the benchmark quite high, but I can assure you it's quite concise, and we know that we are at the end of a 1.5 days intense discussion on a lot of content. And now I just would like, and you were announcing it in the previous session, just give you a bit a flavor of where we are with the program and what are the challenges ahead. So on the first slide, maybe for those who follow the ESPON program more closely, you can see our new logo. You may also recognize that it's now aligned with our colleagues from ERBACT and Interreg. So this comes from the regulation that we have a kind of approach which displays that we are belonging together to Interreg. So that's the first what you may see on this slide. The second is, yes, we are in the 20th year of ESPON. So in 2002 we were starting, and now reviewing what we have been doing in the last 20 years, we can really recognize that we are evolving with our approach every programming period, and this is also happening in this programming period, and I will just take you through a few of the new features which you may know. We are building up on the program so far, but we try to focus and be more specific regarding our thematic orientation, but on the same time also regarding the activities devoted towards the stakeholders. So I press now. So where are we at that moment? So we submitted the program for approval. We got it back from the Commission with some observations, and on the 11th of May we submitted it the second time after we cleared all issues which were still open. So we are waiting now for the formal approval. Now the last 2 days, those who are following us more regularly, we have in the ESPON week always the monitoring committee. Before we discussed the operation proposal, you know that ESPON works a bit differently. We have just one single operation. We put out the call already. We have the operation submitted, and we discussed intensively this operation in the last 2 days, and we are a good way on the way to approve it. We also, and that I was describing the last time already, we have a different approach. We don't work now on annual work plans, which we did up to now. We work now on thematic action plans who are running over a number of years. And they contain, on the one side, evidence production on these themes, but also knowledge development. So we work intensively with the stakeholders on the research side to identify open research questions, to find the gaps, which on the wealth of the research which is already available, and then focus on these gaps on the one side, and also to be more close to the user needs. I mean, this kind of peer learning, and we heard it also in Interreg Europe. We try to come closer and to have more co-creative processes, relatively closely linked then to this evidence production. That's maybe what makes us different from your program, where you come more from the policy practice side, and this is where we then can be complementary in a way. So we also discussed with the monitoring committee the first TAPs, as we call them, thematic action plans. And so this is maybe where we are regarding the thematic orientations. We have thematic action plans on climate neutral territories. We have a thematic action plan on governance of new geographies. That's all related to functional areas approach on different levels, how to implement, how to approach it. Then the theme of places resilient to crisis. And I mean, when we first had this theme on the plate, we haven't had the Ukrainian war. I mean, we were still discussing on the base of the COVID crisis. Before there were climate problems, earthquakes and whatever. So we just recognize that we are in a permanent state of crisis. That was actually also discussed yesterday. So, and also in a way, what is a recurrent point of discussion is the perspective for people and places. I mean, and not from the perspective what we now learned a lot about discontent and places which are left behind, but also to show where are the opportunities for these places. I mean, to turn it around. We cannot change the reality where we are in, but we can develop it. So this is the kind of theme we are working on. And we have in the program also indicatively 3 further themes: living and working and traveling across border, the whole question about smart connectivity, and this is also, I think, now becoming even more important with the whole Ukrainian war situation, European territories and global interactions. So these are, I mean, the first 4 themes are in the pipelines to be approved. The next 3, they are indicatively mentioned in the program, but the ESPON EGTC can do up to 10 TAP. So, but this is then developed on the base of the demands and on the stakeholder consultation where we will put the next focus. So this is about the themes. So we have a couple of challenges ahead where we respond with the new program in different ways. We try to focus more on coordination and synergies, to be innovative and build on high quality research, and to reach out to stakeholders at the national and subnational level. We know from our analysis of the results, the impact of the past program, that we did not reach out as far as we actually wanted at that level. I may just go through these 3 points quickly. So innovative and high quality research. I mean, we know that, and this is also a lesson learned for 20 years now being active, that by the time this European, pan-European research, there is much more on the market. We have Horizon 2020, we have GRC, we have a lot of institutions who are working and are producing really interesting results. So then we have to find out what are the interesting niches for ESPON to complement, to put things together. And we are much more flexible in this period to define certain research projects, European-wide, which are really close to filling the gaps. Then we also intend to do more innovative tendering procedures, pre-market consultation, dialogue in the procurement and so on. And we will also employ focus groups that we discuss with, for example, research projects with other researchers in order to find the most interesting and also best methodologies to comply, to get the results we are heading for. Then coordination synergies. Ensure coordination to avoid overlap and create synergies. So the co-creation and involvement of all main actors and stakeholders during the entire life cycle of the program. So that means we have a kind of constant consultation at the program level, but also with the help of our ECPs at the national, regional levels. What are the demands, but also in the research side, as we said. Coordination of research agendas as far as possible. I was mentioning already the different players on the field. We will have a more intensive dialogue to find out where we can complement ourselves. And close cooperation with the territorial cooperation programs to ensure the necessary synergies. I mean, that was exactly the panel. We have had already a number of discussions also in formulating the programs to find our right profile and put that also in the program document. Now, reaching stakeholder at the national and subnational level. So we understood that our evidence and knowledge production is potentially not sufficiently tailored to the specific territorial needs. So we employ new methods to match that, accompany policy processes. We experimented with new services at the end of this programming period. This will be all part of the thematic action plans. We support to understand and apply the evidence in the specific territorial situation. So that means we know we have European-wide valid knowledge, but we have always to see it in the specific regional, national context. And we will also invest now in this programming period to overcome language barriers. So we have means which we make available via the ESPON contact network to translate also ESPON results in languages. So in that, I was mentioning this already, the ECPs, they will have an upgraded role in the future program. And they will get financial support for the activities they are carrying through. We know from our evaluations that ESPONs are familiar already with the specific needs of key stakeholders and networks on the national and regional level and can translate the results to this specific context. So this is where we are also working now, and we had a long discussion within the monitoring committee, and now we've decided at the last MC meeting how we progress on this with the strengthening the role of the ECPs. And here I can give you a short idea about what are where we see the specific roles of our ECPs in the next programming period. So the first is information promotion, dissemination, so in order to ensure a good national visibility of the ESPON, also to support the MC members because they are part of the administration. Often they lack this direct contact with the stakeholders and that they can act as a national multiplier. But the second thing and part, and this is now also upgraded in a way because we support them financially in implementing national knowledge development activities. So this direct translation of this territorial evidence produced in the thematic action plans to the national context, then to help the stakeholders to acquire the knowledge and skills necessary to understand and apply the territorial evidence, exactly to get away from this very abstract argumentation, but to help and to discuss with them, to involve them in using this knowledge. And then, of course, the ESPON EGTC needs support to connect to the national research circles and themes relevant for the TAP implementation, and also transnational activities which go over broader territory, across different territories. So this is also what we are working on, and where we see a real evolution over the time from one program period to the other. So this gives you a bit an idea about the new features of the program and how this is then translated in practice. This is part of the job of the ESPON EGTC. And in that regard, I can then hand over back to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Timo. Of course, we are subordinated to what the managing authority of the ESPON 2030 program is going to tell us about. So we are working close, hand in hand. So thanks again for a hand-in-hand cooperation, Timo. And also, as you know, ESPON program is disciplined enough also to understand the role of the EU Council presidency countries. So on a half-a-year-long basis, we have a tight discussion with the country in question, what good we can do for the country priorities, how they see the role of ESPON, what kind of specific activities we could consider for the, in that respect, the next upcoming presidency. And I'm happy to see also Milada Hronkova, who is with the Ministry of Regional Development, the Czech Republic. And Milada will be the person that, for good and bad, will be working for the next half the year to deliver what we are expected to deliver. Also in terms of the next ESPON week, that I don't know if you, Milada, are going to talk about, or I would just give you some heads up about. So, Milada, the floor is yours, please.
Thank you, and thank you also for the opportunity to speak to you and present you our priorities. Priorities of the Czech presidency of the Council of the EU. And at the beginning, I would like to explain how the Czech Republic came to its motto. You can see on the slide, Europe as a mission. It's a long time ago, our former Czech president Václav Havel, in one of his speeches in 1996, reflected on the future of the Europe. And he entitled his speech, Europe as a mission. And his aim was to encourage Europeans to rediscover their responsibility for global environmental, social, and economic problems. And he didn't want to be the conductor of the world, but he wanted rather to inspire and lead by an example. So the Czech Republic has decided to use Havel's slogan as a motto, because the Czech Republic sees the current crisis as an opportunity for the joint reflections and as a call to accept responsibility and act decisively on the basis of our European values. Unfortunately, I can't present you our new logo yet, because for the time being, it's not unveiled yet. And it's under the fee of 5 million Czech crowns, so I will not try to do it. Maybe can you just help me? The green. Okay, thank you. As you can see on the slide, we are part of the presidency trio, and soon we will smoothly take over from the current French presidency. And once more, thank you, Marie-Laurent, for all your work you've done for us. And we will be followed by the Swedish presidency at the end of the year. And I would like to all warmly welcome to Czechia from the 1st of July. Now you can see our sectoral or overall priorities, which has to change flexibly because the geopolitical situation has completely changed, so we have to also adapt. And the overall objectives of the Czech Republic is to contribute as much as possible to creating the conditions for security and prosperity of the EU, and fighting the right recipe in form of combination of policies, and not only to ensure the peace on the continent is really, really important, but also lead us towards its long-term goals of green and digital transformation, while at the same time enabling to tackle effectively the security and energy and humanitarian challenges. That's really, really important. So you can see our new 5 cross-sectoral flagship areas on the slide. And regarding the territorial and urban issues, it doesn't change so much, I would say. And our main priority is to open a debate on the shape of the cohesion policy after the 2027. Yes, and present its benefits and experience. And the Czech Republic sees cohesion policy as a key instrument not only for reducing disparity among the regions, but also for the digital and green investments, and that's important. And the political debate about the future of cohesion policy will also touch on the tools as a Just Transition Fund, Green Deal for Europe, and Recovery and Resilience Facility. And this political debate should result in the preparation of the Council conclusion regarding the cohesion policy and its approval at the General Affairs Council in Cohesion in November. We will also focus on building the innovation environment to ensure the most effective development of regions and cities and reducing disparities in the terms of their innovation capacity. And currently we work together with the ESPON, EGTC, on a study that examines the entrepreneurial regional governance. We will also continue in implementation of territorial agenda to 2030 and through its pilot actions. And further, we will follow the implementation of Ljubljana Agreement and prepare a launch of a call for the new partnership, as well as the implementation of a new Leipzig Charter and long-term vision for EU's rural areas. And regarding the calendar events, you can see on the slide, during the September, we plan to have 3 meetings. First is informal meeting of ministers responsible for cohesion policy, which is planned to be in Prague, 2nd September. Then national territorial cohesion contact points and urban development groups in Ústí nad Labem. Ústí nad Labem is the city located in Ústí region. It's close to the Polish border, northwest from Prague, the direction. In October, we can invite you to take part into workshop. You are really, really welcome to come. And we plan to have 2 workshops. One is together with the ESPON, and this workshop is focused on the result and the recommendations of the Independent Regional Governance Study. And the second one is organized by the expert from the regional policy at the Ministry of Regional Development. And it will be focused on living sustainable development goals in local communities. During the October, there will held 2 other events. Director General on Territorial Cohesion and DG on Urban Matters, both will be in Prague. And both DGs will be followed by the General Affairs Council in Cohesion. It is organized also in Prague on 22 November. And last but not least, I forgot, national conference. I would also like to invite you to a small city, Jeseník, which is mountain, which is east, north direction from Prague. It's a mountain region. And we will organize here a national conference, which will be focused on innovative regions and opportunities and challenges. It's a topic of the conference. And we will invite local stakeholders to participate in this conference mainly, so it can be also interesting to meet people from the different regions here. And at the end of the November, we plan to have a monitoring committee of URBACT. It will take in the city Brno. And it is located in South Moravian region. And last but not least, I wanted to say, we would like to invite you to the ESPON Seminar and to the ESPON Week, our colleagues from Monitoring Committee and ECP colleagues. And this week will be from 5th to 9 December. And you can see that our ESPON Seminar will be focused on entrepreneurial regional governance. And our subtitle is Territorial Cohesion through the Open Innovation. And the aim of this study is we want to present you, and it will be also presented not during the discussion, but also through the policy briefs we are going to distribute you. And this aim of this study is to assess the ability of the regional public authorities to act as entrepreneurs in achieving social, environmental, and economic benefits for its communities. We hope for interesting results we can present you, and we hope that you will come all to Prague and join us in the conference center, which is not far from the city center. And I would like also encourage those sitting behind the computers, because I think that you can visit beautiful city in a Christmas time, and you have also opportunity to discuss, to meet each other, and to have a live discussion, not only formal but also informal during the coffee breaks. And I think it's important after these 2 long years we have been closed in our homes. So please come here and visit us. And final, not the final, but at least final slide showing the localization of our press event, Czech press event. You can see the map, and on the map you can see all the events and their locations. And our goal was to invite people to the different regions and show them the disparities between them. And for example, if you look to the map, Ústí nad Labem is only 1 hour away from Prague if you take bus or car, doesn't matter. But the differences between in the standard of the living of the inhabitants are really, really significant, and you can see it if you come to visit it. So I think it's all from my side. Thank you for your attention. Děkuji za pozornost. And looking forward to meeting you in the heart of the Europe.
Děkuji, Milada. Just also one last heads up. In 1 year from now, the week of the 12th of June, we are inviting all of you to Sweden for the ESPON week. We'll go far above the Arctic Circle to the beautiful town of Luleå, and then you will have to be with us. You will have to travel, because they will be spectacular. So please remember, mid-June 2023, Luleå, Northern Sweden, ESPON Week and ESPON Seminar. And final words, Timo, if you may.
No, I mean, now, as you were organizing this conference, I think I would like, as a MA, also to thank you and your team and all those who were here intervening and contributing. I mean, we have to say for us, now this hybrid setup, it's a real challenge. It's fair to say it's quite a double organization, if you like, and we are still learning on that. I think it worked very well as far as I could hear, but we are not at the end. But thank you for everybody. From the ESPON team, from the MA team. We had also a big event in front of us, and we are still on. We have an ECP meeting now from the afternoon until tomorrow noon, and I'm really looking forward to discuss also the new roles. I also have to thank the monitoring committee very much because it's really intensive work, I can say. I mean, to get the program up, discuss it, get the single operation proposal discussed, evaluated, the TAPs, it's now really coming all together. But I think we have really a good working atmosphere. And of course, there are the presidencies. And here in particular, I would like now to thank very specifically to Marie-Lorraine who, apart from all the other meetings, was guiding us through the waters. And I mean, at that particular moment, and it was on her, and I'm also a bit in it, there is the Ministerial General Affairs Council on Cohesion Policy. So it's a kind of multitasking, and I'm very happy that you could be here with us now until the end of this event. Send your regards also to all your colleagues in the Agence Nationale Cohesion Territoriale. So